Okay, welcome along. I am chatting with Andrea Marsh. And we're going to look at migraines today. So, Andrea, do you want to tell us a bit about what you do, and then we'll get started on migraines?
Absolutely. So you know me as Cotswold Menopause, so natural solutions for dealing with menopausal symptoms. But actually, my root therapy is shiatsu, which is acupressure therapy. So just like acupuncture, but without the needles, and it's all based on the same discipline of Oriental medicine. So my migraine knowledge comes very much from working physically with women for all of those years and what I've learned. And I think you'll probably, if you're watching this, identify with some of the symptoms. I've made lots of notes today, so you will see me looking down at my notes. And it's absolutely miserable. There's auras, there's vision issues, and then we've got feeling nauseous through to actual vomiting, and then tiredness and absolute fatigue. And actually, for years, I was used to in very stressful jobs, and I'd come home by about 6, 7 p.m. Just have to put myself in a darkened room, clamp pillows either side of my head, take some anti-inflammatories, and sleep it off. So I know the feelings. And I also know from then becoming a therapist after that since becoming a therapist and understanding it all, I never called them migraines myself, but some people might have given them that label. Never had one since, touch wood.
Wow.
But 15, 16 years of never having a tension headache is what I called them, because I felt it was directly related to tension. So then I see a lot of women, and they come to me, and some of them are on the medication. They say, I really want to get off the medication. And I go, let's do it. If you're in the mindset to alleviate migraines, you can alleviate migraines. And I've had some women also lie on my mat where I've almost been too scared to touch them, because they've come in and said, I think I've got a migraine just starting. But actually what I learned from that is to feel what's going on in the head and the face at the point of one starting, and actually, to be fair, triggering it. Because the build up of heat and inflammation around some points I'm going to tell you about in a minute, then to put your fingers on it, to remove it, we had to pass through it, because the lady is literally just about to have the migraine then and there, so I can't alleviate it without shifting at that point. So I do have a lot of physical hands-on experience of helping women alleviate migraines. And you might be talking about ladies that came in that were getting them 2 or 3 times a week. Very, very completely work-related, because I'll get, we look at days of the week, and I always say, if you haven't already, keep a journal about what you're emotionally feeling when it happens, what happened at work that day or family situation. And then of course, for some ladies, there's food triggers as well.
Yeah.
And it is, people say, well, what causes them? Well, there is a dictionary definition that it's the blood vessels contracting and dilating abnormally, which I'll go with. But actually what causes them, simply put, is life. And that's not necessarily what you want to hear. But I said, but that's okay. And every woman is different, and I deal with every woman individually. And I go, well, we'll just work out what the triggers are in your life, and we'll remove them. So somebody that maybe was having 2 or 3 a week might, after even a treatment or 2, get down to 1 or 2, a year or something. So absolutely, you can change these. I don't feel it's something that is a life sentence. That's not the way I see them at all. And so I work with women that don't want to see them like that as well. So I'm hoping if you're here watching it, then you're trying to learn. So I've got all sorts for you today, but we'll come back to what is happening in your life to trigger migraines. And we've got to look predominantly at muscle tension. Muscles hold us together. If we didn't have muscles, bones don't hold themselves together. Our skeleton would not stand up by itself. It's our muscles that keep us standing up. And everything we do in life physically contracts muscles, because that is muscles working. For muscles to work, they have to contract. The problem with muscles is, unless you're in tip-top health, unless you've got a sports therapist on hand every single day, your muscles are not being reset back into a perfect balance. So if a muscle is this thick, it's just got hundreds of fibers packed in there. They contract, do anything, they contract. But when you release, a few of those fibers don't release. So say there was 100 fibers, now maybe 96 of them are relaxed and 4 of them are tight. And then the next time you contract, another 4 don't release. And now we've got 92 are relaxed and 8 are tight. And this is what builds up and creates tension in muscles. And we're talking specifically today just to literally around the neck and shoulder collar, up into the occipital ridge at the base of your skull. So you're doing jobs with a computer. So we're creating that. We're also doing jobs, and I became very sensitive to air conditioning because I used to work in radio studios. And I would sit there and I feel this blast of cold on me, and that was the shoulder that always had to be worked. It was the shoulder with the knots in. So it was the shoulder with the contracted tight muscles that hadn't released and caused really bad knots. So cold, aircon, that muscles don't like cold, muscles want warmth. So it is life that builds this up. It's the things we do. It's not taking notice. It's going, I'll carry on, you know, it's our hectic lives. It's stress, it's emotional stress, anxiety. We don't go, well, hey, I'm anxious, or, well, hey, I'm grieving. We tend to close up with any kind of emotions that make us miserable. We close up. If we close up, the muscles are contracting and they're getting tighter and colder. So a lot of ladies that I see or I talk to, I say, you need to really start thinking about your back. And funnily enough, I mean, we're not having a great summer at the moment, but even when we had that hot summer 2 years ago, I was getting people in with real cold issues in their backs because everybody's going out in a t-shirt. Then you might go sit somewhere like a restaurant or something, you sit in the shade, or you'll sit with the sun on your face, but you're in just a flimsy t-shirt and your back is in the shade. So those muscles are just getting, the opportunities for muscles to get cold are just there in everyday life. I think, Emily, you as an athlete knows the cooling down after exercise is technically, it's quite a dangerous period of time, isn't it? Where you have to cool down properly. You have to keep those muscles warm and massage to keep the blood flow going.
Yeah, and if you get cold too quickly, it's not good.
Yeah, and I'm a tennis player and I'm the same. It's like you wear the tons of layers so that you're warm when you come off the court, because just the muscles have got nicely warmed up. I mean, yes, we know you can get injuries if you start doing sports too quickly with muscles because they're not warmed up, and that's very well documented. But unless you understand these things, or you've done a study, or like Emily, you've done the exercise, you don't know about keeping muscles warm after the exercise stops. So just all of these things, just to know, muscles don't like cold. And they don't like cold because the blood doesn't flow properly. And this is where we come back to blood vessels contracting and dilating. So then we have to look at whether migraines are hot or cold. So you've got all your other symptoms, you know, you've got the aura, the visions, the pain you might be feeling, and of course numbness down arm is another symptom. But when we start to, what do we do to alleviate migraines with natural solutions? We have to talk about whether something's hot or cold. And as Emily knows, the basis of everything I do is it hot or cold? But actually the beauty of thinking about or deciding whether something's hot or cold is that it is simple. And if it's simple, then the solution is simple. You just need to take the time to know if it's hot or cold. So migraines are not straightforward because you can be hot and cold at the same time. I'll explain. So pretty much the root cause of migraines. Let's talk about the physical muscle migraines as opposed to the food intolerance migraines. We can touch on that in a minute, but we're talking about muscular migraines. If muscles are tightened, so we're going to use our hands now, and Emily, you can follow me through this. So, you know, I think if you touch your hands to hands, I can feel my hands are quite temperate at the moment. How are your hands feeling, Emily?
Yeah,
Both the
yeah.
same? Sometimes one is hotter or colder.
Well, they feel sort of a sensible sort of a
Lovely.
temperature.
When you're doing that, first of all, the first thing to notice is, do both your hands feel the same, or is one hot or cold? If, say, this one was cold, then it would feel cool to the other one, and vice versa, that would feel warm. That already tells you that your circulation is wrong, because your hands should be even. So say this hand is cold, the likelihood is we've got trapped or impaired muscles somewhere in the shoulder junction to make that hand colder than this one. So we'll go with the warm hand now. When you place your warm hand on your forehead, does your hand feel warmer on your forehead? Does your forehead like the heat? Or does your forehead feel quite hot and your hand is cooling?
Hand feels warmer than head at the moment.
Okay. When your hand feels warm, your head is cold. When your hand feels cold, your head is hot.
Mm.
Okay. So for a migraine, I tend to find women have either got trapped heat or trapped cold here. And then potentially they have the same or the opposite here. So what you just need to know is, when you put your hands here, do my hands feel hot or cold? So my neck must be quite warm because my hands feel cold on them at the moment.
My neck and my hands feel about the same.
That's perfect. That's balanced. That's healthy. Not an issue. You don't have a migraine right there then.
No, I don't.
But of course, what we're trying to do here is we want to do these tests when you know it's coming. There's no point doing it 3 hours into it and you're reaching for the tablets. The moment, and every woman I know has ever spoken to, they know it's coming. There is an indicator of it's happening. What we want to do is we want to go, it's coming, let's head it off. Not, oh God, it's coming, here we go again. So this is the time to then start doing hot and cold tests. So you're going to check the temperature of your neck and you're going to check the temperature of the forehead. And they can be different. You can have a hot neck and a cold head. You can have a hot head and a cold neck. Or you could be hot all over. Or you could be cold all over. It doesn't matter what the combination is. What matters is you know what to do about it when it's hit. So I think the worst symptoms are, I say that because both of them are pretty bad. But when you've got hot symptoms, there is an excess, there is something that needs to be released and it's probably trapped. So if you've got a very hot face but a cold neck, you're going to be looking to putting a warm wheatie bag around your neck, but you're looking for warmth, because what's happened is those neck muscles have got really cold and tight, and they've constricted the blood and trapped it in your head. Yeah. So you then end up with too much in the head, and one of the indicators is you're very puffy. So when you feel along your eyebrows, you've hit some dips in your bones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you feel them? And just stay with those dips for a moment. They should be quite close to the inner corners. Yours are quite wide, but you know, and actually mine are. Some women, they're literally here, but mine are about here. These are massive dips in headaches and migraines. And if you go to press them and they're puffy, then that means you're quite hot and you're quite full, and you're probably quite full on about to have a migraine. So we have to look to alleviate it with cooling things. So I've got a couple of things here. So you can use anything, but what we're talking about is you can use your own fingers. You can lie back and you can actually use your own finger pressure on these points. And you just stay with it. But that might be uncomfortable, or you might want something cooling. So here I've got some rose quartz hearts. And you can get howlite hearts as well. And they're very nice. They just feel cooling. You would just lie back with some cooling pressure on those points, and that's doing a little bit of self acupressure just to relieve those points. If the weight is too much, then a cold flannel. But what you want to do is when you're hot and you're puffy, you want to bring the temperature down. And the other thing that I've got, if you like looking into things like essential oils, and you can buy products on the market. I think one's called Forehead, which I know a lot of ladies use. They basically have at the basis of them a mint or a menthol in them. And these are cooling elements of essential oils. So I've got one on there like a little rollerball, and it's an amazing feeling, as well as you can run it backwards and forwards over your head, but you can also run it and use it to press into those points I was just telling you about. And pretty much it's far more comfortable to do this lying back or resting your head. But you just, and nothing is about forcing a pressure. It's got to be a gentle pressure. So it's got to be just the natural weight of anything, the natural weight of your fingers, the natural weight of the bottle, the natural weight of the stones. The moment you start pressing, going, oh, I've got to get rid of this migraine, look at my muscles. Oh, tension, 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 and you're transferring that tension. So all you're going to do is cause yourself more pain and actually exacerbate the symptoms. So anything you do has got to be done with TLC. You know, this is self-care. Everything we're trying to teach you in the whole of menopausal world is actually to take care of yourself. So actually to beat yourself up and have a go at yourself because you've got a migraine is just about the worst thing you can do. So it's about doing these things sympathetically. Now, all I'll say is if you use anything mint-based, you must only use it on the brow bone and above. And that's because they've got quite strong fumes. So if you put fumes under your eyes, it's basically it's going to sting your eyes, okay? So if you use anything minty, you can use it under the nose and you can use it above the brows, but you don't use anything minty or menthol near the eyes because fumes hurt. So that's kind of getting rid of cold symptoms. Sorry, getting rid of hot symptoms. And whilst you're getting rid of hot symptoms here, if you've got a cold neck, warm it up. Put something warm around it. Hot. You can actually get a hot water bottle that sits around the neck from Dunelm. I've got one, it's great. So this is why we're dealing with heat trapped here because of cold type muscles. So it's a twofold thing that you need to be working with. And then you have to swap if you've got the opposite. So a lot of women might have really tight hot muscles here, in which case do something cooling, you know, like an aloe vera gel with a bit of mint in or something. But aloe vera is very, very cooling, so cool it down with something like aloe vera, and actually the blossom cream as well. Lots of women are finding the blossom cream is really helping their headaches. I'll come on to that a bit more in a minute. So, and if you've got a cold head, then you're not going to be, don't buy things or put things like Forehead on because they're assuming you've got heat symptoms. And I think I've mentioned this a few times. Western medications are all about releasing heat. So if you've got heat symptoms, then anti-inflammatories, painkillers, anything with mint in, they're all designed to get rid of heat. The problem is if you've got cold symptoms, there is nothing on the market apart from something like Deep Heat or Tiger Balm, those things. So have those. If you've decided you're actually a cold migraine person, then actually get things like, and there's essential oils that can heat you up, things that have got cinnamon and black pepper in, you know, those more dynamic spices, they're very warming. So you really need to, next time you've got a headache, just headache as well, migraines, find out what your patterns are because it will be a pattern. You won't have one time and then it be different another. You will have a set pattern. And you'll know you'll have a set pattern because you'll know the signs and symptoms and they'll be consistent. So there will be a hot, cold pattern that you can follow and then have your own little regime for. But moving a bit deeper about what's causing all this, we've got to look back at, again, the health of your whole body and your body chemistry and balancing your hormones. And this is why some women get get migraines suddenly during perimenopause when they'd never had them before. So it's a hormonal imbalance. So like pretty much any other symptom that you get with perimenopause, it's supplements. And so the supplements are a good multivitamin, magnesium, all of these things, all of these nutritional depletions can come out as headaches. It's the obvious thing, like drinking water, cutting out caffeine. Shouldn't be having to tell you this kind of stuff now. But it is respecting that our bodies are changing and we can't live the lifestyle, eat and drink as we were, because so much of what we've had through life, it's pretty coloured, processed foods. And I'm not judging anybody, I'm the same. You, me, Emily, we love our chocolate and our wine. So we're not preaching to you, we're just saying if your symptoms, if your symptoms are bad enough,
that's exactly how I work. Just as an aside, I always work on identifying what things are triggering an individual's symptoms.
Absolutely.
Rather than blanket saying, well, no more chocolate or alcohol for any of you, because I would be...
No, there is, and there's no blanket, and I don't believe in anything blanket diets, because nobody is the same. You know, those people that then say, oh, you must do the 5-2 thing, that will work for certain types of body chemistry. I think the first thing, and I'm a true believer of this now because I've lived it, the very first thing to do, whatever your ailment is, whatever your issue is, whether it's belly fat or migraines, is balance your body chemistry. And that means putting in the nutrients. And then I'm always asked, why can't I get it from food? We can tell you why you can't get it from food, or we can just say you can't get it from food. Things are so heavily farmed nowadays, they haven't got the nutrients in them. It's as simple as that. I think the classic story is a bowl of spinach 50 years ago, you now need 50 bowls of spinach to equal the nutrients.
Wow.
I used to chug almonds till they were coming out my ears. It wasn't until I took magnesium that my magnesium deficiency went away. So we need multivitamins and magnesium. Now, if you haven't already researched supplements for migraine, and I went straight to the Migraine Society and found all these supplements today, so they are there. I was looking up and I was going, but why do these supplements work? And one that interested me was quercetin. And quercetin is, you smell them, because I've got some, they smell like apple cider vinegar, because what they've done is, I think we all know now, apple cider vinegar is kind of a magic food, and a lot of fermented foods, which a vinegar is it a fermented food or is it a pickling? Well, anyway, you know, it's foods that have that acidic taste. They've got good things in them for us. So quercetin is where they've compressed it into a tablet. And I was reading up about how do some of these supplements help us, and so you should be on a multivitamin and magnesium right now, end of. But then you can start adding in extra things like extra vitamin C and vitamin E and lots of other supplements, again, depending on what's going on. But a whole bundle of these supplements like quercetin and C and E, they're acting as antioxidants. So I'm sure we hear the word antioxidant bandied around a lot, and free radicals, and what do these things mean? What it's basically saying is, whatever we eat, whatever we drink, and whatever we breathe in, whether it be toxins, pollutants, cigarettes, car fumes, all of these things create toxins in our body. And those are the free radicals. They're running around creating a mess. Now, our body tries to create its own antioxidants anyway. We wouldn't be living if it didn't. So it's doing a pretty good job. But it needs more help. And again, it needs more help at this time of life. So when you see things that say they're antioxidants, you need them. And this is food, it's vegetables and fruit, it's berries, it's all there in nature. But then you might, if you've got really, really bad case of something going on, then you just need more help. And to get that more help, then you need to buy some supplements. So like I said, quercetin is one of those. And or actually have it as the apple cider vinegar if you get a really good cloudy, cold pressed one. Because again, the moment anything is processed and it's altered, the moment you alter the chemical component of something, it's not necessarily as good. And a perfect example is, And actually, I'm going to tie these two things together. Why painkillers and anti-inflammatories may not help your migraines. And give you bad stomach alongside. So remember I said Western medication is all about relieving heat. And you've done the test now and found actually your migraine's cold-based. So there's just no point taking a painkiller or an anti-inflammatory because all they're doing is making you colder and making you more miserable. So there aren't tablets out there you can take for migraines. But ibuprofen is an interesting one because I used to chug ibuprofen like there was no tomorrow. Seriously, if there was an addiction to ibuprofen, I probably had it. But what I found out about it is Profin, it was taken from a flower called German chamomile. And if you take German chamomile, it's okay for your body because it's balanced, the whole thing's there. But in removing the Profin and turning it into an anti-inflammatory, they've removed the natural fatty acids that went with it. So a lot of people now, if they take too many anti-inflammatories, get bad stomachs because the Profin is now not protected by those fatty acids. So this is what I'm saying, when we take a component of something and process it and take it away from its natural form, they still don't know the long-term consequences of doing this. And that goes for anything that is anything other than cold pressed, which is why I come up when I said if you try the apple cider vinegar, because you'd rather take it as a vinegar rather than a tablet, then you're looking for something that's cloudy and cold pressed. So you've got the pure essence of the apple. You won't get the quercetin, obviously, in the concentration. But then if you take it as a tablet, again, you want to look at the processing of the tablet. So you want something that's as natural as possible to get the maximum benefit as naturally as possible. So that was just my aside about supplements and antioxidants.
But the processed versus not processed is so important. I mean, yeah. Slightly as an aside, but true to migraines, true to everything. You know, we have it constantly bombarded at us. You know that, for example, orange juice, you know, in the carton is good for us. Well, it's not as good as having some oranges because it's taken out all of the. It's exactly like you were saying with the ibuprofen. You know, it's taken the good stuff and removed it from the other stuff that balances it.
Absolutely. And it's like, how can pandas eat sugarcane all day and not get fat? Well, they're kind of cuddly, but they're eating the cane of the sugar.
Exactly, not
getting
just
the fiber.
Yeah,
and I mean, there's lots of research out now. I've watched lectures on sugar. It's fascinating, actually, if you do get into the whole thing about sugar, that if you eat the right amount of fiber with the sugar, i.e. in its natural proportions, then it will pass through you and actually be a really good kind of diuretic for your bowel. But of course, we've processed sugar and removed it from the cane, and we just eat the bad bits without the good bits. And so yeah, every sugar under the sun is processed. So anything with sugar in, apart from them, just as an aside again, if you are a food triggered person, you've probably had your diary and you've looked at your food triggers. And I did a case study with actually one of my best friends when I was studying, and her triggers for migraines were time of the month and sugar. And she was addicted to sugar. And I would suspect, looking back, the stress of her job as well. So all of these things, it might feel like it takes a bit of work to reduce and alleviate your migraines, and you might feel you need somebody to support you so you can talk about all these things. And I'm here for that. That's what I do. But it's worth it. Isn't it worth it not to be reliant on having to have those tablets in your house or to hand whenever, not leaving the house with your tablets just in case? Isn't it worth it not to be a slave to, oh my God, my time of month is coming, I might get a migraine, therefore I can't do something? If you feel your migraines are bad enough that you're a slave to them, isn't it worth taking the time to make those changes? Because
and also I'm just going to interject here that sometimes people feel that they're reluctant to explore other options because maybe they won't get the instant hit of it being better, but obviously long term it will be. But also people sometimes feel that to go for a therapy that will help them unravel it might feel as though it's going to be expensive. But when you add up the cost of those prescriptions that you've been buying every month,
or the cost of time and not being able to do things, I know
exactly.
It takes a leap of faith. You have to jump over that hurdle of fear. I completely get that, and I'm here to help those people that are brave enough to do that. It is driven by fear, and it's also driven by GPs saying, oh well, you should take these. It takes a strong person to stand up to the GP, or actually just, no, I'm not going to go to the GP anymore, I'm going to do this myself. And that's too much for a lot of people to overcome. And then you go to a therapist who says, I can help relieve migraines. And then what do you do before you've even left the room? You've got a migraine. And that therapist has got to assure you that this is something you've got to go through. We needed to release that pressure, that build up. It is, every human body is different. Every human mindset is different. We're here for those ones that feel, determined to make the change, really. Those are the only ones we can help, those that want to make the change.
Absolutely. And this is the same across the board with all the perimenopause symptoms. We can all go and buy all of the sort of menopause branded supplements everywhere, or we can go to the doctor and take a tablet, and there's no judgment in that. For the people for whom that's right, that is absolutely brilliant, and I'm very glad for everybody that it works for. I am 100% behind you, because that's great. However, there will always be people for whom, exactly as you've said about the hot and the cold, if Western medicine is only treating the hot symptoms, then anything you have that's a cold symptom isn't going to get treated. And it then comes down to, is your quality of life worth getting this sorted? And this then comes down to a very sort of female thing, that we tend to be brought up to put everybody before us and not to put ourselves first, and to just carry on, soldier on through, and it'll be fine, I'll just pop another couple of pills, I'll be fine, and as though it's almost a weakness to give in to being ill's not the word I want, not being out of balance with ourselves. And actually, there's so much happier life on the other side when we work through it all and come out feeling better.
I actually feel blessed that whether I was born with that mindset or it's come from how I saw my parents live their life, but I've always known I've had to look after myself. That was what my dad's, growing up, my dad said, 16, you're out, look after yourself. So to look after myself, I knew that I needed to be healthy. And that's really what it's come from. Plus I saw my mum having acupuncture and kinesiology and things to alleviate stress when she was at work. So I saw therapies being used for mindset and emotions rather than just physical things. So I think those are both powerful lessons. So I feel really, really lucky that I don't rely on a GP or some tablets. That's not to say I haven't, because when I was young and before I had any of this knowledge, if it was ibuprofen that I needed to get through the day, because I've always had a lot of mechanical issues, back, knee issues before I became a therapist, I did that to get through the day, not thinking of the long-term consequences. So I've been there, but I've also had my eyes completely opened to it all. And then it was only on reflection that I realised that maybe I'd learnt the lessons as a child, but hadn't implemented them, because I'd always had those interests, but was too busy, trying to grow up and stuff at the time to worry about anything other than just the trials of living. And this is what I say, it's all of these things. Why have you got migraines and nobody else has? because something in your body chemistry allows it to happen, plus the stresses of life trigger it to happen. And it's the same with anybody. If they've got a weakness somewhere, my weakness was my sacrum. I'm sure you, Emily, have got your weaknesses. Whenever anything happens, also my neck, whatever happens goes to that stress point. There's so much.
And that's, I'm going to just, I think we probably need to round this up in a minute because
okay. I could do about another half hour.
But it's true that where a pain manifests, whether it's as a migraine, whether it's whatever, is often not where it's coming from. And that's, I know, where you were sort of just about to head to, you know, and that because Western medicine is so focused on providing a solution now, a quick fix, we often don't look at the whole person.
Yeah.
It goes, the issue is you've got a headache,
yeah,
or a migraine, therefore we will give you something that stops the pain being in your head, when actually that may be coming from a lumbar spine issue, or it may be coming from an emotional issue, or, you know, any number of things. And yeah, we could go on for weeks, so maybe we'll do part 2 of this.
We haven't even talked about liver yang rising. There's all the Chinese medicine, yeah, and then there's all the acupoints. There's definitely a part 2 in this.
Okay, we will do a part 2 of this very soon. But for now, thank you so much, Andrea. And
you're welcome. It's always a pleasure.
If anybody wants more information, then
cotswoldmenopause.co.uk. The best thing to do is always message me and say, "Oi, can you help with?" And then we have a chat. It always starts with a phone chat. Everything starts with a phone chat, so I get to know you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrea.
You're welcome, Emily. See you soon.